Steal my mac and cheese during dinner? How about a fork through your hand? This is a story me and my family always bring up when we are out with relatives. So anyways, when my mother was 8, let's call her YM for younger mom, she had a brother who we'll call B. B was about twice as old as YM was and much larger than her too. At about 14, B took up the habit of snatching food from YM's plate during dinner when no one was looking. This was, at first, small stuff like a couple of fries or some corn or peas. Eventually he got to the point where B would swap out his plate with my YM's plate. My mom would tell her parents this, and all B ever got was a couple slaps on the wrist, no actual punishment. After a few years of B doing this, my mom had enough. She knew the parents wouldn't do anything, so that Tuesday night, YM told herself that if he stole her food again, she would take matters into her own hands. Dinner time comes, and it's mac and cheese night. Sure enough, B took YM's plate again, and this time, she grabbed her fork and stabbed him in the back of his hand. B bled hard and began screaming bloody murder. My mom was immediately grounded, and B just needed to wear a bandage around his hand. B never stole YM's plate after that. TLDR, my mom's brother kept on stealing food from her, so she ended up stabbing him in the hand. I sent an entitled mother to the ER because she grabbed my girlfriend. I posted this story to r/entitled parents and figured it might be a good fit here too. I made some edits in hopes of making this a little easier to read. This story happened about a week ago. I got a $25 gift card from my mom to the local cinema, so my girlfriend and I decided to go see How to Train Your Dragon: Lost World. HTTYD. For context, my girlfriend's a petite beauty from Venezuela, so people sometimes mistake her for a child, but it's usually very obvious that she's an adult by the sound of her voice and the way she acts. It usually results in awkward or sometimes funny moments, but this was not one of those moments. Anyways, we get to the theater without any problems and we patiently waited in line to purchase our movie tickets. We started talking about How to Train Your Dragon and what dragons we would want to have. She loves Astrid's dragon Stormfly because her favorite color's blue and she likes its ability to shoot spikes. The way she marvels at everything we have here is so adorable, but I also understand that it's because she, in her own words, grew up with nothing. We get to the front of the line and I start purchasing our tickets. I feel a really thick finger tap me on the shoulder. Enter the entitled parent. Hey, can you help me out? This lady's tone instantly set off some red flags for me. People who are condescending and or overly nice generally want something out of you. With what? Well, I really wanna see that dragon movie with my little boy and we just don't have enough money today. Her kid is completely silent, and he looks like he's 6 to 7 at the oldest. Unfortunately, me and my GF are both broke college kids, so we didn't have too much money to spare. We don't have money to spare. Sorry, maybe someone else can spare some change. I thought that maybe that would get her to leave us alone, but nope. You have money. You're using a gift card. You can just buy the tickets for you and the little girl with cash. Me to the employee while mentally face palming. Can you just take my card real quick please? She takes my gift card and swipes it. Stop. He stole my gift card. I look at EM like she's on drugs or something. The employee looks at the gift card, which has my name on it, and my name is not a gender neutral one or Karen. Ma'am, I'm sorry, this might just be a misunderstanding. His gift card does appear to have his name on it. I want to speak to your manager, bitch. I can't believe you would defend a thief. He just wrote his name on it. Okay, please wait 1 second ma'am. She was right in front of us for the entire exchange between us three. GF tugs on my sleeve. Babe, what are they saying? English is her second language, so she still has trouble understanding people sometimes. EM has a look of pure disgust on her face. Me to GF, LRS loco. I was being intentionally incorrect with my Spanish. What? I should have known that you're a fucking pedophile. She was screaming loudly and people were starting to stare at us. What? I was just shocked that she would say such a thing to my face. I guess she thought my GF was a child. I glance over at my GF, who is starting to look scared and confused. All she knows is that the physical embodiment of insanity is standing before us. I won't get your ass arrested for aping that shit skin illegal if you just hand over your fucking gift card. No. Get out of our face. The kid hasn't uttered a peep throughout this entire exchange yet, but he looks scared. How fucking dare you make my baby cry? He wasn't. I'm making sure you get arrested and taking your gift card. She reaches for my gift card on the counter, but the lumbering land whale is too slow. I grab it. She's screaming at me to hand over my gift card, but I refuse and play keep away. After what felt like a minute of her screaming at me and calling us both all sorts of racial slurs, she changes tactics. She grabs my GF. I'm taking you away from this rapist. My GF's eyes are wide. She struggles and lets out a blood-curdling scream. Hearing that scream was all I needed to see red. I elbowed EM with all my might. She hit the ground hard. She was out cold with blood trickling out of her mouth. The only thing that stopped me from going further was her kid's presence. Everyone in the vicinity went silent as M continued to stiffly lay on the ground. Surprisingly, nobody tried to attack me afterwards. The employee was visibly shocked by what just happened. My GF was sitting on the ground, crying, but thankfully unharmed. I tried to comfort her, and EM's kid started to cry too. Security came a few moments later, followed shortly by the manager. They are greeted by the scene of me kneeling on the ground next to my crying girlfriend, a little kid crying a few feet away next to his unconscious mother, all surrounded by shocked onlookers. They immediately called an ambulance for EM. It's clear that she's badly injured. The employee and I explain what happened. The other staff were thankfully nice and understanding and offered us free tickets, but we just took vouchers to another showing instead. My GF just wanted to go home. I felt bad for the kid after what he just witnessed. I gave him a candy bar I was saving for the movie, which seemed to help him relax a bit, but I could tell he was still scared of me. I apologized for hurting his mom and told him that it's wrong to hit people, but sometimes you have to in order to protect the ones you like. I sincerely hope that he doesn't grow up to be like his mother. I'm not sure what happened to the kid. I gave a police statement later that night, which earned me the nickname as the elbow man at the local department. My girlfriend does not want to press charges, and she's firm on this. I later heard that I knocked out 4 of EM's teeth, dislocated the left side of her jaw, and gave her a concussion. She likely got the concussion from her impact with the ground. The best part is that I'm guaranteed to win the case against her if she tries to sue me, and I know that she'll have to eat only liquid foods for quite some time, assuming that the info I heard is correct. TLDR, racist woman gets mad that I won't give her money for movie tickets, then tries to use false accusations to steal my gift card. Then when she grabs my girlfriend, I knock the EM out and dislocate her jaw. Guy takes advantage of my little sister's disability and I snap. A quick preface. This all happened about a year back. I will not be using real names because I could be in deep shit if I did. All actors in this story will have their names replaced with JoJo references. This is a long one. Context. My little sister, henceforth known as Holly, is mute. She can actually whisper a little, but it takes a lot of effort on her part. She's been mute ever since she was 5, when she lost her ability to speak in an accident. She's very smart, and she's a good-looking kid. At the time of these events, she was 16, and I was 21. Me and my sister lived together in an apartment, because my mother is a Roma who isn't well suited to take care of a teenager. She has our twin kid siblings, but not my sister and I. My dad is distant from the family, so helping my sister through high school falls to me. I work at a car parts shipping company, so I get paid just enough to get by. Because of our relatively poor living situation and my sister's inability to speak, she gets bullied at school. Generally it isn't much of a problem, but in the few months leading up to these events she was having increased problems with it. Build up. At the time, Holly was 16, but she was a sophomore in high school due to failing a year in middle school. She refuses to take special ed courses now because they didn't help her at all. Because she's good looking and is older than most of her class, she gets attention from juniors and seniors. It's mostly negative attention, but there was one guy, who I will refer to as Dio from now on. He's the villain of this story, who treats her really nicely. He's a senior, and at this time is 18. He repels bullies from her because he's a tall, handsome tough guy, and bullies don't want to mess with him. I don't interfere with them because my sister is visibly happy when she comes home from school and whenever she's around him. I didn't let them hang out alone together, but supervised them hanging out a few times. Anyway, King Crimson a few months, and she stops coming home happy. She isn't hanging out with him anymore either, and although I ask her multiple times, she won't tell me anything about it. I confront him about it, and he evades the topic. At this point I'm suspicious, but I don't know what to be suspicious of. Researching. I'm getting more and more worried about Holly, so I go to her counselor and assistant principal to ask about her activities at school. From what I learn, she still spends all her free time near Dio at school. I find this strange, since she doesn't seem happy anymore. This is where the illegal stuff starts. A few days later, I invite Holly and Dio on a dinner night to Olive Garden. No one can resist Olive Garden. While we're there I do two things that are completely illegal. 1. I steal his phone, which I've seen the password to, and 2. I read his texts and emails. Anything I can to find out what's happened between them. I don't find what I'm looking for, but I do find out that he drinks and smokes weed with his friends on weekends. This will be relevant later. A few days later I find his phone in the laundry and say it must have ended up in one of our coats on accident. I know for a fact he got it back because he called me to thank me for having Holly return it. I still didn't have what I was looking for, so I went back to the school and used his previous texts as grounds to check CCTV for any suspicious activity. There wasn't anything suspicious by school standards, but there was something that caught my eye. It was my sister going to the central bathroom in the school and him going to the boys' room of the same bathroom about a minute later. The bathrooms are separated by a wall, but there's a janitorial closet that opens into both bathrooms and is completely in the blind zone of anyone walking into the bathrooms, let alone the CCTV cameras. At this point, I began to suspect that something was happening between them in that bathroom. It was the only one with a closet like that, and if my memory served me, the closet didn't have a proper lock. It just locked from the outside on both sides. Boiling point. Now that I suspected something, I confronted Holly about it. She broke down crying, and after 15 minutes of consoling, she shakily signed to me something that made my blood boil. Apparently, it was far worse than I expected. I had thought they were going in there and doing drugs or something, since Dio was the kind of guy who would pull that kind of thing. As it turns out, according to Holly, he brought her in there one day, closed the doors, held her down, and raped her. He told her that he would know if she told anyone, and he would hurt her if she did, because she physically could not scream for help, or make any kind of loud noise for that matter. He got away with it. And the worst part is, he was threatening her into meeting him there every couple of days, and doing that to her. I was livid. My first instinct was to call the police, but I realized that there was no evidence, except the testimony of a mute girl. I wouldn't be satisfied with police intervention anyway. The first thing I did was call Holly in for a week from school. Family emergency can get them a week of excused absences easily. The next thing I did was find out where he lived. After that, I planned the most brutal revenge I could think of. Highly illegal revenge. My first step was to break into his house. It turns out his parents go out a lot, and he leaves to smoke and drink with his friends. I knew from reading his texts that there was a spare key on top of the porch light in the backyard. That Saturday, I scoped out the place and waited for everyone to leave. I then began phase 1 of my revenge. I went into his house through the back door and found his room. I smashed his PC, stole his wallet, and pissed on his bed. Then I poorly hid 2 small bags of weed in his house. I have a friend who grows. Finally, to hide the fact that it was targeted, I tossed up the rest of the house, but didn't take anything. I then went to a Starbucks and used the Wi-Fi and Dio's debit card, he didn't have credit, to purchase a bunch of sex toys in his name and send them to his house. I then left his wallet sitting near a homeless man sleeping on a park bench. Next, I contacted his parents and told them I had seen their son drinking and smoking with a group of teenagers. They were furious, which leads me to believe that wasn't the first time something like that had happened. Finally, I went to the back road he walked on his way home from his drinking parties, which I had found out in a text from one of his friends. I waited for 2 hours in some bushes for him to walk by, and then, wearing sunglasses and a hoodie, jumped him. I demanded his money and phone, although I knew he didn't have his wallet. I kept one hand in my hoodie pocket, pointing it like I had a gun, which he believed. He handed over his phone and ran away. I then finished up my plan by using his phone, which I still had the password to send an email to the school from his school email, confessing to raping my sister in the janitorial closet multiple times, as well as possessing drugs on school grounds and drinking alcohol when he was underage. Then I snapped his phone on my knee and went home. Aftermath. My sister went back to school the following Monday, armed with a can of mace I bought her. Dio wasn't at school, and she was called in by her counselor. She confessed, and he was charged with rape, underage drinking, and illegal drug possession. On top of that, his parents completely disowned him, and he was expelled from the school. Sadly, this story doesn't have a completely happy end. This whole ordeal sent Holly into a downward spiral. Her grades fell behind, and she barely smiled. In March of 2018, she attempted suicide by cutting herself, and it was pure luck that I found her in time. She's getting better now, but the emotional trauma will probably affect her for life. I pray to whatever cruel gods are out there that he gets a taste of his own medicine in prison. Destroy my mailbox? How about I end your football career? So I lived in a small suburb in the Dallas-Fort Worth area of Texas most of my young life in the 80s and 90s. In this town, high school football, American football, where everyone smashes into each other like a bunch of savages, was like a local religion, and the Booster Club was like the mafia, even going as far as buying off the cops to let their precious football star kids run amok across town, usually pinning the blame for their shenanigans on bad kids like myself. I wasn't popular. In fact, I was quite the opposite, because in a small town in the mid-90s, a nerdy grungy metalhead with no interest in sports such as myself stuck out like a sore thumb. My home and property was often the subject of vandalism, much to me and my dad's annoyance. The most annoying thing was having to buy a new mailbox like every few days, because it would be smashed into bits. One day, me and a couple pals were poking around a scrapyard when I found a metal pole with a flat piece of metal across the top. Ideas started churning in my head. I dragged it home along with some other metal scraps and welded together a 100+ pound invincible steel mailbox and cemented it into the ground where our flimsy stainless steel one used to be. My dad high-fived me for my ingenuity and the welding skills I learned in shop class. Over a week went by, and no mailbox incidents happened, but at school, there was a huge fuss, because one of the star football players seriously fucked up his shoulder. He had a football scholarship waiting for him when he graduated, but that was ended, as his injury left him unable to play ever again. I never put 2 and 2 together until my dad got a summons to court for the malicious injury of Jockey McFucknuts. It turns out this jackass was the one destroying my mailboxes. He would have his friends drive him past my house in his car at high speed, while he smacked it with a baseball bat, while he leaned from the passenger side window. When I installed the solid steel mailbox, he tried this same shit, and, well, bye-bye shoulder, bye-bye football career. The lawsuit against me and my dad never got off the ground, the parents dropping it when my dad's lawyer successfully wrangled a change of venue due to threatening answering machine messages from the local booster club. I felt a little bad at first, as I never intended to destroy this guy's dreams for the future, but now that I look back on it, he brought it all on himself for being an entitled scumfuck.